episode 3.
Yeah.
Back at the Under Rug podcast. We are back in the dungeon. Feel good, man. Like I said, life is always good. God is good. And how you feeling over there, Korbin?
I'm feeling good, man. I'm feeling good. We probably should have just recorded the last. We've been here for an hour. We probably
Yeah,
should have just
yeah,
recorded the whole thing. We
yeah.
just gonna start wearing microphones.
It should go that deep, man.
Yeah. But life is good, man. Life is good for both of us. It's almost like there's so many blessings. Sometimes you start to wonder when some shit's gonna go down. You know what I mean?
That's the scary point because you're like, this roller coaster goes up and it also comes down at some point. But I think we're going to be blessed enough, at least when it does come down, it's going to come down with grace and it's going to come down with time.
Yep.
So we have to worry that we don't have to control when it comes down.
Yeah, you just
or
gotta
when it
handle
goes up, you know.
You just gotta handle it, strong. You gotta be strong for everybody around. Yep. You start to wonder though sometimes. It seems like when things look out when things are going as good as they are. Shoot, it seems like I guess it was only probably a couple weeks. I can't remember if we talked about. I guess we probably wouldn't have on the last podcast, really, with some updates on the house situation, everything. I don't know if we even brought that up, but it's been a fast couple of weeks even since we did that last one. I don't even remember, but man, you've had some big blessings come, and for me, just continues to be blessed to stay busy, man. Plenty going on.
That's all. Yeah, man, because at that time we would just had probably, because it's been probably like 3 weeks
since
last
so.
episode.
Yeah.
3
It
weeks
is
going on a month maybe.
Yeah.
So at that point we were still looking. Our house search wasn't for long.
No, that's the thing. It doesn't seem like it was even that long.
I think after we got pre-approved, I think we found a house in like 3 weeks to a month.
That's wild.
We were out of town. I got a text message from I'm a home inspector. I know hundreds of realtors. One texted me. They knew I was looking for something off market. Said, man, I think this is the one for you. Send me the address. Me and Mo, we look at the photos. I'm like, I'm not super excited about this one.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. The pictures. I'm like, okay, we'll see. We get there. 100, bro, 360. I literally, how much time I spent in the house looking at it, I probably could have inspected it the first time I went to go see it. We were in that house, bro. We were only supposed to be in there for 30 minutes. We stayed an hour and a half. Bullshit you not. Like, we didn't get home, bro. The showing was at 6. I think we got to dinner between 7:20, 7:30. So that means we had to leave there at 7 or a little bit after.
Yeah.
Because the restaurant we went to was only like 15 minutes down the street.
No, yeah.
And we didn't get home till 9:30 that night. And we was like, man, it was a little bit over not necessarily what we could afford, but what we wanted to spend. It's a little bit over that, man.
Right.
But when we went through, I'm like, it's a forever house.
Yeah.
We literally anytime we thinking about moving, we like, why we gonna do that? We can add this to here, do this to here, and just change. It's beyond much opportunity, and it just felt like home. And then after inspecting it, ain't too much wrong with the house, man. Ain't too much wrong with it. So, I literally, when I first found out that he called me, depending on the situation, and who calling you, you can kind of feel whether if it's going to be a good or a bad call. When he called me, I knew it was going to be a good one.
Yeah.
And I went outside for a minute, man, and I literally cried for a second, let a few tears go. And it was just crazy, bro. Because I knew it was meant for me and for us, as a family, bro, and everything like that. So I think this situation solidified for me that you necessarily, when you worry, you kind of get in the way of what God is supposed to do for you. And you have to be a humble, and disciplined individual to do that. It's not easy.
Yeah, that's true, man.
But if you, bro, that's how you control your life and your destiny. That's how you manifest. It's talking, doing, pouring into what you really believe in. So the house I ever could imagine, I always said I wanted a house with a pole barn, bro.
Yeah,
I
who'd have thought
always
be the
said like,
first one?
bro, I'm like, this is nuts,
Yeah,
bro. This is nuts. So I'm like, and then we was talking about the equity situation. Like at
yeah,
bare minimum,
yeah.
it's gonna be 10 or 20 just walking into
Sure
it,
seems like it.
which is very beyond damn very. You're not gonna see it in this
Insane
market,
right
not
now.
right now,
Insane.
because if
Yeah,
it is, so
man.
um,
Yeah,
man, we waiting. They trying to have us closed before the end of the month. That would be amazing.
yeah.
They said at latest May 12th. I would rather do the end of this month,
Right.
get what I want done, need done to the property the first 10 days, have people in and out. Now we can move the furniture in, boom, boom, boom. We settled, by the 15th. Now we got a couple more weeks. The baby gonna be here. That's the plan. And however, it's crazy, bro, because just how I thought this year was gonna go, it's going exactly how I knew, because my energy fit. It fit my energy. It
Yeah,
fit
yeah.
it
I
fit
know
my
what you mean.
motives. It fit everything I did waking up day to day. And it fit my mindset.
Yeah,
I think through life, that's the most important. That's the only thing you can control is your mindset. You can't really control too much else, but you can only control your mindset, meaning you can control whether if you're going to react to it, how much energy you're going to give it. Are you going to allow this to make you or break you? You have all of those decisions. And it's easy to just fall into it.
sure.
It's
Yeah.
easy, bro.
Yep. Yep.
I know too many people just fall into it and they not able to do that spiritually.
Yeah.
So I have times people may even question my spirituality because I wasn't raised in the church, or wasn't big in the
Right.
Bible and everything like that. I'm like, man,
Yeah.
come on, bro. It's beyond the devil.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
beyond the devil. So
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
the beauty of it, man. Of being able to share it. Like I said, bro, I'm excited for you to see it, bro. For us to have our
Yeah.
spot, kick it and do some special things, man. And like I said, even the backyard is so huge. The front yard and backyard, we literally plan on having our reception and everything like that at the house.
Man, that's amazing.
So
Why not?
he
Why not?
answered. People be worried about when blessings gonna happen. He literally answered like 10. He answered 10 things that we wanted and needed as a family in one viewing to go see a house. He literally
Yeah.
checked 10 boxes, bro.
Yeah. Yeah. All real fast.
Come on, man. So, but like you said, you do work like, okay, these are the good things,
Yeah.
and I honestly, with my mindset, I don't think the challenges and the times we go down are bad things. We need that stuff just as much as you need the good.
That's true.
So once you look at it like that, it's like, well, I'm ready for it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because if you stay prepared, whether if it's up or down, your mindset already there, and it's gonna be much easier. And you probably not gonna have to go through it as long as you would have, because you already prepared for it.
That's true. That's true. That's true.
But you have to be very intentional to do that as well.
Yeah.
But
It's funny you say that. It seemed like for me, like the stars have definitely aligned this year in exactly the way I thought they would too. It's very strange. I had to sit that situation where, you know, it's been a long, not in a bad way or anything, but just a long, it seems like hasn't been, but this whole situation with somebody kind of working for me has unfolded over the course of shit. I was just looking back the other day. It's been since like about fall, I think, of last. It was like November of last year, So it's almost. I mean, we're coming up on May here. It's already been some time, and that time has just flown by. But like that whole situation was so interesting because I had, this friend of a friend who's now become a friend, that works with me, who was I still haven't even met. I don't, you know what I mean? We talked about making some plans and everything, but the friend who connected us, he and I connected. See, freaking forever ago, probably like 6-7 years ago, maybe even more. he and I met playing a Rainbow Six game online. We
Okay.
became friends. We met up a couple times now. We've been friends forever. He's a good friend of mine. I mean, we probably talk daily. Honest. I mean, we chat daily. We have a whole little group text. Everything. We all chat daily. But he connected us, and so this guy, that's working with me now, had just become a police officer. Hated it. I barely knew anything about this guy, but I knew that we vibed. You know what I mean? We were all connecting, we were all clicking and everything. He gave me a pretty good energy, and we had, as guys do, we're always like jabbing at each other and stuff like that. So he's a cop. Me and my other buddy that connected us, we work from home basically or whatever, work out of an office, work on a computer, you know what I mean? So you can imagine the kind of cracks that go back and forth between all three of us or whatever. He's hating on us for working at home. We're making fun of him for not being able to, you know what I mean? So at some point, over the last year, he made some comment about, man, maybe I should start making websites or something, you know what I mean? And that, to me, we just laughed it off or whatever, but I think I kind of tucked that away or whatever. And knowing his situation, like, because he's talking to us every day too, just kind of seeing how he just became a cop. It just, every day more and more, it just sucks. He just hates it, which I'm like, to me, I think, duh, I don't know why anybody wants to do that, but I'm thankful for it. You know what I mean? But I'm just thinking, yeah, duh, of course it does, but he hates it, man. And then come to find out he's only getting paid $1,300 or something every 2 weeks. I mean, you guys are like 40 a year or something like that to be a cop, bro. I mean,
I don't know if that's 40, bro. That's only 2,600 a month. You do 26 times 12.
2 times 12, 24. You might be right. It might be close to like 36 or something like that.
That's less than 36.
Yeah,
that's like that's 30 or lower.
Yeah.
I say that because when I was for GRPS, bro, at the end of the year,
yeah, you probably
29,000, bro, and that was like before taxes.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't know how much is coming out of taxes, but even if it was 3, then it would be.
He's in Florida, so he getting a little bit of break because they don't have state tax. I don't believe in Florida.
I don't know about that, and it's also not, I don't think, terribly expensive to live in Florida. So I mean, it'll get you a little further, but yeah, just kind of, it was just interesting to see that situation unfold, and he had almost kind of planted that seed in jest about doing something like that. But, just over the course of time and kind of he's telling us all these crazy stories about shit he's already been through and, just talking about it in a way where we can just tell this is not for this guy. You know what I mean? So as even though we're giving each other shit all the time, I mean, we care about each other. So after a while, we're kind of like, all right, man, you might want to think about figuring something else out because it seems like it's really like, can you see yourself doing this 10 years, 15 years, 20 years? You're talking about a whole lifetime, man. And he's telling us about how he talked to I don't remember what it stood for, but he called it FTO. Basically sounded like a supervisor of some sort or somewhere in the chain of command. He said he talked to this guy, and this guy had been in the force 14 years. He was making a couple bucks more an hour, bro. And we're like, and we kind of, put the jokes aside for a minute. And we're like, are you serious? Like, are you really so passionate about being a police officer that's what you want to do? Because if that's the case, don't let anybody tell you otherwise. But
exactly.
like, it sounds like you hate it, bro. You know what I mean? It sounds like you absolutely hate it, and you should figure something else out. And then he kind of started, I think, how sometimes I think men especially do this 100%, where like, I don't, maybe not all, but I think just in general, it's kind of a trait. Sometimes it's a flaw, but sometimes it's a strength. But we don't necessarily talk about things if it's bothering us, because sometimes once you open that box, so to speak, there's no closing it. The Pandora's box. Once you start shit talking about something that you're not happy with, it's hard to turn back from that. You know what I mean? I think we kind of do that sometimes, where like something might be getting you on edge, but you just don't talk about it right away.
Why do you think that is, though?
I don't know why. I think sometimes, like, I think it's a good trait sometimes. I think sometimes, like, shit just sucks sometimes, and sometimes you should just grit and bear it, get through it, and shut the hell up, and like there's strength in that. But sometimes it's a flaw because, like, if it's sometimes you need to talk about it, you know what I mean? So I think there's a balance with it, and I think he struck a good one where, like, for a little while he was kind of trying to just see if he could man up, see how he felt about it, you know what I mean? But after a while realize there's no reason to man up, you just hate it, and this is the rest of your life, you know what I mean? So he kind of got a little more vulnerable, start talking about it or whatever, kind of express how he felt. And I started thinking about it and just like, are you serious about doing something else? Because I'm like, I'm starting to think about it. I'm like, I had already started, we had talked about looking for somebody, how I was going to find somebody, and I don't have any idea. So I started thinking, like, would it be so bad if I had somebody who had no clue what they were doing? Not necessarily, because I don't, you know what I mean? I've done this a long time, but I started from nothing. So maybe it would be fine to have somebody who's, I could tell that he was a super intelligent guy. And that's one reason he didn't even really, this is going to sound like a jab at cops. I don't necessarily mean this, but like he just almost seemed like too wise, too intelligent for that necessarily to be his role forever. You know what I mean? He seems like a smart guy. So I'm like, maybe he could pick it up. Maybe I could teach him some things. Maybe he could actually be the guy to help me out, And then it just, once I kind of started thinking about it and we kind of started piecing it together, ever since then, everything is just fallen together. I had that opportunity where I was doing some work. I got offered a job. I had to take that job. I was on the fence about whether or not I was even going to do side business because it would just take so much of my time. So now I got to make a decision. He's kind of right in front of me. He's actually kind of serious about the thing. You know what I mean? And, it's either that or find somebody new or just give it up. You know what I mean? And everything just kind of started. I'm like, I got all this work that I basically am going to have to tell these guys I can't do. Like, could I teach this guy how to do it even though he doesn't have any clue? I'm like, yeah, he's a smart guy. He's like, monkey see, monkey do. That's how men are too. You know what I mean? He's just like, show me, I'll figure it out kind of thing. And he has over the past few months, like he's gotten better with it. We've knocked a bunch of those, dealer pages out that we do. And the summer will probably be for a couple months. Like he's done over 100 of them at this point. I mean, he's pretty much literally knocked out every manufacturer they have: Ford, Chevy, Kia. A whole list of them. All the pages for next year are pretty much done. So we'll have this whole summer to actually do some other things too. And I've been able to just basically funnel him that money. Pay him to help me do some other stuff. It's completely changed his life. He's no longer a cop. He works maybe 4 or 5 hours a day. He's been able to get back to the gym and everything like that. And for me, it's just like, I haven't even fully processed it. I don't think, to be honest with you, that I'm paying out that amount of money and doing all this business. It's just, it's almost like on the side, but it's like everything has just gone exactly. I almost took a gamble, I was a little worried because I'm like, what if something happens? I don't want to tell this guy to just quit being a cop just because I'm not trying to manifest that. I want to make sure it's something that he actually wants to do. And I want to, I don't want to have a situation where he does that and 2 months later something falls through, but nothing, we took a little bit of a leap and a little gamble, but all the stars have just stayed aligned. It's just been the most perfect. It's exactly how I'd hoped and thought and tried to manifest to happen from November of last year. You know what I mean? I thought, this is exactly how I see this happening. He's probably going to do this much per week. It's probably going to amount to this much per month. It's probably going to last us until this time. Then we're going to have a summer to do something that I should probably have him work with me on building the business so that when the time comes back around to when these model pages come back, he can do those, get his money, and we can just keep perpetuating that into letting him get his money and also kind of moving towards building the business that I just couldn't do by myself. You know what I mean? So, and for a little while, I was like, man, I'm just waiting for something to go wrong. But like, everything's been gravy. It's been great. So, knock on wood.
No, man. You deserve it, bro. And everything's going to continue to go well for you. Honestly, that was to Mo. And I think to my little brother, CJ, I said, man, I don't know when Korbin sleeps, because I remember you was telling me your schedule. I'm like, man, he wakes up 3 to 4 days a week early, like at 6 o'clock to be at the gym. I said, and then I know you pretty much 8 to 4, 8 to 5.
Pretty much 8 to 5, yeah.
And then I'm like, he still works Chandler Inspections. He still has an abundance of side jobs. I'm like, when the hell does Korbin sleep?
Yeah.
I told him, I said, man, he he literally is living the life of like a Jordan or Kobe when they're playing during their like a basketball season.
Yeah.
Good things come out of that. You know what I'm saying?
It has,
so
man.
so
It has. It
so
has.
that's the blessing in it, bro. And
Yeah.
I remember. So I'm surprised that you said it was only since November or October last year. I feel like it'd been longer than that.
I felt like it too, but I was
I feel like a
just
year or
looking the
so,
other
but
day because I don't know, something came up where I went back and saw some of the first of those pages he had done for me that we had. I think it might have started trickling around
okay.
October because I think what had happened was um, he was he had like an end date. He eventually got to a point where he was like, "I'm quitting. I'm actually putting in my notice."
Oh.
It was like, I think it might have even been longer than 2 weeks. It might have been 3 or 4, something like that,
Oh.
that he ended up getting. So he was kind of there, and then I kind of already had this work for him, so he wasn't doing a ton up front, but just enough, you know. And I was kind of chipping away at him too, because these guys had sort of a minimum expectation.
Yes,
so
sir.
we were kind of starting it probably. I would say August, it couldn't have been any earlier than September or October because I know that he quit in November and then as a cop, and then I looked at some of the pages he did the other day because I had to get one of them for the people we give them to, and it was like mid-November or something. So it was one of the first ones
Yes,
I think
sir.
that he had really done. So yeah, it does kind of feel like longer, but at the same time, I also can't believe it's been almost half a damn year. You
Yes, sir.
know, it's just crazy. So and after all that time, pretty much exactly how I predicted it. It's exactly how it's gone. And both credit to him too. It's been great. I know he appreciates it. He's been great at it. He's been putting in exactly the amount of effort he needs to. He's got a desire to try and get better. He's excited for the prospect of learning more, because a lot of what we're doing is like it is pretty simple. It's kind of cut and paste, simple. It's not the most exciting work,
Oh, sir.
but for him, it's like, I mean, he was pulling crackheads out of a ditch 6 months ago. You know what I'm saying? For less, you know what I mean? Like, I'm paying him more than that. You know what I mean?
Damn, when you say it like that, that's pretty fucked up.
It's crazy, bro. That's the conversations we had with him for months, because I'm like,
Crackheads out of a ditch.
straight up, he had the craziest stories, bro. And I mean, just right into it. Like, you don't ease into it as a cop. As soon as you, you know what I mean?
First day on the job.
Yo,
Fuck.
it's you just never know what's gonna happen. So I mean, there'd be times because we play games and shit together. So we'll be at home sitting on our little app, Discord, just with our headphones on or whatever, playing games. And me and my boy Kevin that connected us in the first place would be sitting there, and he pop in, doo doo. You know what I mean? We're like, "What's up, Santi? How your day going?" He's just telling us the craziest. We just go silent. I know me and Kevin both sitting there going, he just be telling us some shit that sounds like it's coming out of a movie, bro.
That's crazy,
Yeah, and just like, and I got a lot of respect for people that do that, and just to hear that that's even like, it just never even occurred to me. I just assumed, I guess, that as a cop, and because we were looking for him too. At first we're like, hey man, if you feel passionate about being a cop, that's fantastic. Maybe you should go be a cop somewhere else. Because as we're looking around, my buddy Kevin is in Chicago area. Is a little north of Chicago. It's more of like a suburb kind of nice area. He was looking in his area for open positions as a cop just to see what they're paying. It was like 80. So, we're like, dude, if you really want to do that, you should just seriously consider moving, which was tough for him. He's got a house in Florida or whatever. So he's got some shit established, he's got friends, family, whatever. So I get that. But as we're looking around, for whatever reason, it seems like just that, whether it's that particular area in Florida or just Florida in general, they're just not paying cops very well, which is unfortunate. But I feel like it should be a baseline.
I thought cops made at least like 50,000.
That's what I thought. It blew me away to hear that he was only making that
Any
much.
cop I know at bare minimum makes.
That's what I thought. I think that's about what it is around here. I think that's
and
probably
the
what they
benefits
start
are
here.
usually good. And when if
Right.
you get there enough and work your way up, you can be making like 70
That's what I thought.
to $80,000.
Sounds like not in Daytona Beach, Florida. That's what it sounds
Damn,
like.
they do not value cops.
No. And I think he just, maybe
That's
he could
crazy.
have got used to it, if he'd have made. And that's what we're trying to tell him is like, bro, maybe you should hurry up and just, see if you can get somewhere where you can maybe feel a little bit better about what you're doing if you're getting paid 3 times as much or whatever.
And maybe a safer area.
You might feel better, might be a safer area, you might not run as much shit. But I just think that, truthfully, at the end of the day, it wasn't a fit for him. And getting to know him, I can see that. It's not that he wasn't, tough enough to handle it. He's definitely tough enough to handle it, but he just didn't feel like dealing with the bullshit.
That's a lot of bullshit.
It's a lot of bullshit, man. Yeah, and I know that I couldn't do it. It would make me. I guess that's not true. I think I could do it. I just think that I would be absolutely miserable. And I've done roles much less crazy than being a police officer and hated my life. So I can't imagine how much I hate my life doing something like that, bro. And it's funny because my buddy that connected us, Kevin, he was in a similar position 5-6 years ago. I remember him coming to me talking about how he was trying to become a nurse or something like that. But as a part of that process, he had to work EMT, which is like an ambulance, or in the hospital, like being the receiving sometimes. Like emergency. You know what I mean? Yeah. And he was miserable. There was just so much. He saw so much terror. Kids dying and shit, or like, I know he remembers like going to resuscitate a kid and not making it, the kid not making it or whatever. So I remember him coming to me and just saying, man, I don't know. And I said, I think you would know if it was, if the passion that you felt for the role ahead was higher than the pain that you feel for sticking around, you would know that you should stick around. And some people, bless their heart, that's what they're made for. They really feel that way, and thank God for that, because what the hell would we do without them? But I was just like, man, it sounds clear to me like this is not your role. This is not something you need to be pushing your way into. You know what I mean? So, and he's in insurance now. He's not doing that. So having come from that angle, especially with our boy Santi here now, we already had a situation where it's like, hey, it's okay, man. And that sucks because you spend a lot of time, he spent a lot of time becoming a police officer. There's a lot involved in that, so that sucks to have to give that up. But much rather give that up, in your early 30s and transition to something else than to do it for 10 years, be miserable as shit, and then have to do it.
Agreed.
You know what I mean? So I'm thankful for that. I know he's thankful for that. It's just been such a blessing, man. It's so crazy. I'm excited for both of us this year, man. It's going to be a hell of a year. And we've had some good years up until this point, but it just seems like this is like take all last 3 years and
take off.
Just throw them together, man. This one is really, the trajectory is like straight up. This one, man. Everything's falling together. I'm hoping to be in the same position maybe by the end of the year, start looking for a house too.
Yes, sir.
I'm definitely inspired by your situation. I'm definitely going to be looking off market, and I'm going to get my license out. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens.
It's going to happen, Captain.
Yeah. Sure, it feels like it, man. Everything's feeling good. Like you said, something, shit hits the fan. I'll be prepared for it. It'll be all right, But I think everything's going good, man. Everything's going good.
No doubt about that, bro. No doubt about that at all, man.
Yep. Got a baby shower coming up real fast.
Baby shower next week.
That's next weekend. Yep.
I got to go get the meat. I got some of the meat today for it. I got to get the rest tomorrow and Saturday. Most likely Saturday now. Saturday morning, because we get the meat from the farm and everything like that. So I'm gonna have to go up there Saturday morning, get the rest of that, be all set. We're actually going. They got like a line dancing thing tomorrow at the place we're having our baby shower at next week.
Oh wow.
So we're gonna go there, refinalize just how we want everything, making sure they got all the dishes that we need.
Nice.
And then from there, make it happen. Got a few friends coming in from Detroit, so super excited about that.
Nice.
Pretty much anybody that was my family at fairs pretty much are going to be there. But it was 3 main people that when I first got there who super connected with me. And my first 2 years, if it wasn't for them, I don't know. I would have stayed, but I wouldn't have had the time I had.
Nice.
I would not have had the stability, the love, and respect that I felt. And like I said, when I first got there, I was a freshman. They were juniors, seniors, on their way out,
nice.
and everything. So one of them was my old roommate. The other one, I met him in math class, but we end up. That's when we used to have a distribution company, and everything like that.
Yeah,
So man, it's all funny and love, man. And then Nicole was more. I met her as like a mentor. I think that's what she pretty much got introduced to me for, just to kind of be on campus. But she introduced me to Black, and it was a brother and sister relationship from there. And then Dre and Mike remained brothers after Ferris. So looking forward to seeing them. We probably end up doing something afterwards. Sean and Julie will be down.
Oh, cool.
So looking forward to seeing them.
Yeah.
They're in New York right now. I think they should be back.
Wow.
I think he told me he was super excited. So
that's cool. They're just taking a trip, vacation.
Yeah, man. Sean and Julie, man. When I say they live their best lives, bro, they live their best.
I feel like they take
lives.
a fair amount of vacations. That's good for them, man.
Sean is. Our relationship is very close to our relationship.
Yeah.
To be honest, bro, I met Sean out of nowhere, and from the first time I walked in their door, they treated me like family.
Yeah,
like,
they're super nice.
It was crazy. So, and then it was weird because at the end of the training, he was like, I didn't want to be super weird, but he was like, do you smoke weed? I'm like, yeah, I got a half a blunt rest in the car. Like, I'm on my way back home. He's like, well, man, we can smoke some pot before you head home. Yeah, bro.
That's funny,
had just ate dinner. Julie, Sean could cook their asses off.
Hell yeah.
Julie, I believe her background is hospitality. So she, man, it definitely fits her. She makes the best charcuterie boards.
Oh, okay.
Very, very good, man, and everything like that. So I'm just looking forward to being around a lot of people that love us. Seeing a lot of old friends and everything like that, man, and everything. So, but no, man, everything's going to continue to go well. I'm excited about the next month. It's like I said, a lot of major things going on with the house, the baby, and everything like that. Me and Mo was joking, but at the same time, it's like a serious. So I'm very like gooey when it comes to that blood and all of that stuff. So she was like, man, where are you going to be when the baby? I'm like, obviously I'm going to be in the room, but I'm like, I don't know if I can be down low. I plan on cutting the umbilical cord, but other than that, if I go down there, bro, and see something, I literally, I know me, I probably would faint.
I might too. I'm not real big on that either. I'm not necessarily the biggest man when it comes to any of that. I'll admit it. That's something I probably need to work on, things like, especially you probably do too, because especially having kids and shit, man.
Oh, man. I mean, I don't mind. I changed diapers as a, you know what I'm saying? I was a, big brother growing up, but other than that, like, I'm talking like blood and like hospitals already.
Yeah.
Anytime I got to get blood drawn or a shot, my body automatically feel different.
I feel that.
Like, so
I know I get so anxious. I don't know why either, because nothing's ever really gone wrong.
But I do get a little lightheaded when I do get blood drawn, and when I'm ever getting a shot, I turn my head and I switch the whole conversation. We be talking about I don't know, basketball, football, something. We ain't talking about nothing that's going on in this room. I feel a little poke and keep on going, but.
It's the feeling, not the pain.
Yeah.
It's the feeling. The pain is, I've learned is it's fine. It's the feeling. It's the fact that I can feel. Have you ever had a bad cut? Like from I don't know. Anything
I think
really?
The worst thing I ever had, I mean, I done had a bad cut. But when you saying bad, like had to go to the hospital bad for it?
No, not even necessarily. No, just enough to where you're like, even if you're like, that could have been bad. You know what I mean? Like I've had a few times. I worked in kitchens. I remember one time almost probably cutting the tip of my fucking finger off because you know what I mean? It's like, and for how many times you be cutting something, I guess
You gotta be
the more
very
you do
careful
something,
with that
it's
shit, bro.
bound to more. It's more likely to happen. You know what I mean? But like, yeah, you get a little confident and shit in the kitchen. And I remember, I used to do cooking and prep work, and this when you cut with them big knives, you start getting you're going down, that sort of thing. And I remember one time coming down on my thumb, and it's like it's so not the pain, it's just the fact that I can feel every part of that going in
Wow.
there, and it's so crazy how fast our brains
Wow.
are to where without even knowing what happened, what happened. You know what I mean? The response is just immediately like, pull up, I'm done. What did I just do? You look down kind of like, oh my God, please tell me I didn't just lose.
Be thumbless for the rest of your life.
Yeah,
Damn.
exactly. And it might not even be that bad. I've done that a couple times, and I've had like man, it's always the thumb. I had one time just opening a damn soup can when I was a kid, kind of slipped. My
They
hand
gotta
just
be
slipped,
careful with that shit too, bro.
and that went in there pretty far. And I had one time. I think my left thumb. I have a scar right there. I was taking a bulb out of one of my car, one of the turn signal bulbs or whatever, and that son of a bitch was like, it got too hot somehow. Like the cable was bad.
I've been burned worse than I've probably been cut.
Really? Yeah.
I've been burned worse than I've been cut.
Burning is the pain. That's straight up. That shit
bro,
straight up hurts.
that shit, like, one time, this
worst.
was probably last year, November, I turned the gas off to a fireplace, and my ass, without even thinking, accidentally picked up the piece of the wood. And right when I touched, I said, "Damn, what is you doing?"
Yep.
And my hand felt fucking terrible for a few days.
For sure.
Burn.
That's the worst.
I can only imagine.
For real.
Literally get like that shit. Literally, bro, it's like cooking you.
Yeah.
Like literally, bro, that shit is scalding you. So
yeah. That's the worst. I've only had little ones, and that's all it takes. Just like you said, little hand burns, whatever. Same thing cooking. Sometimes you just end up touching something too hot or whatever. I've had little shit like that. I cannot imagine. I would definitely rather probably have a cut because it's quick, and then it's like it definitely stings a little bit, but not like burning, man. Burning hurts the same until it's gone. You know what I mean? Like if it's a couple days, it's the same pain. 2 days later, if it's still there, it's the same damn pain. It's just like it does not go away. That shit sucks. That shit sucks.
I got a question for us, bro. What out of the 4 to 5 years of our entrepreneur journey and really finding what we like and what we love to do and what we thrive in, what would you say has been the most challenging part for you during that process?
Just on the journey kind of so far in terms of
like whether if it was just
business.
a general, if it was a moment, if it was a day, a week, a phase, if it was something like, what was, we all have those moments. What moment was it for you to where it was life changing or just something that really struck you? And it could be for the good, it can be for good or bad. Like I said, I don't necessarily consider always bad, is more so with the mindset, but something that was beyond challenging for you.
I think a couple things come to mind. I would say, in around when we first met, it wasn't long after I became a realtor that we first met. And I kind of got into the real estate thing because, I had worked like food and retail for most of my life. I met somebody who kind of talked to me about a referral program in real estate. I wasn't real interested in that. That was basically where they were just trying to get me to kind of get my real estate license and then put it in kind of like in escrow like mine is now, and then you can like be a referral agent where you can just send referrals. So he was just kind of talking to me about that. I wasn't really interested in it. Just seemed like a lot of work for, I wasn't going to pursue that. But I connected with this guy that kind of was in retail, like in my retail setting. I met with this guy who kind of talked about that. I wasn't really interested, but we stayed connected. And then not too long after that, he hit me up because he had just recently become a licensed agent, and the brokerage that he worked for, which was the brokerage I think I was at when we first met, he had been working for them as like their tech assistant while he got
Mm.
licensed. They paid for him to get licensed, and so basically they were reaching out to me because he was moving on from that position.
Yep.
He had got busy enough with his real estate that he didn't have time to be a tech guy. So they basically were looking for somebody to kind of take that same opportunity.
Yes, sir.
And I thought that was interesting. Like it seemed like a sign of some sort, you know, and the
Huh.
stars were kind of aligned. And then to where I was like, well, shit, if I quit my normal job, I got this going on. I'm gonna make a little money here. I started to kind of have different smaller revenue streams that would at least kind of replace what most of what I had there. So I kind of took a gamble on myself in some regards. I actually even took some money. I like borrowed some money so that I could just get the hell out and kind of have some have some padding and basically get into the real estate thing. I knew I wasn't going to make any money in real estate anytime soon because it was a process or whatever. So in some ways, I kind of, with the real estate thing, I took a gamble, and I don't necessarily regret any of that. But what I learned in doing the real estate pretty early on was that just wasn't for me. The whole real estate thing, just in general, was not for me. And I think that was a big part in kind of both being a reminder and just a lesson to me that even though I get along well with everybody and I tend to be a people person and even a people pleaser, I don't have any desire to work that closely with people as a regular, you know what I mean? Like as a regular job necessarily. And I think I kind of, in some ways, I like my role has always been behind a computer. You know what I mean? I made my first website when I was like 13 or 14. I was just always behind a computer screen. I've always been doing stuff on a computer, but I kind of always just thought that there was enough people like that was just going to be an industry that would be oversaturated, you know, when I was younger and everything. So I didn't necessarily think that I could use that as a primary source of income without going to work for somebody, which come full circle, you know what I mean? But anyways, that was tough because I both kind of like it was a little humbling in some ways because when I first started all that, I was really taking a bet on myself, and for the most part it kind of worked out, but my trajectory was a little off in how much I was making, how much I was gonna make, and then the COVID thing kind of hit. And I wasn't necessarily ready for that either. And I made the mistake of that's what came to mind first, was like that was probably the most challenging time, was when that COVID lockdown hit, because to be honest with you, I had way too much fun. When we couldn't do nothing, and I think I was already kind of jaded on the real estate thing. You know what I mean? I was a little jaded on it, and things hadn't gone exactly how I'd hoped. I didn't love it. It was just kind of weird. I was still happy to not have a full-time job, and I was still happy to have replaced a lot of that income and everything, but I hadn't actually got anywhere. I hadn't moved up. I had only moved straight. You know what I mean? Like kind of in a straight line, if that, So like, and then when that time hit, and we were just getting paid, because as a realtor, we fell into that category where, legally we actually couldn't really do a whole lot. So, I basically just sat. I made the mistake of doing nothing like a lot of people did. But the problem was I enjoyed the shit out of it. That's why I didn't do anything, bro. They were basically they were paying us to play like Call of Duty is how we were looking at it.
Pretty much.
So that was a mistake. And that wasn't challenging at that time, but looking back at it, I wasted time. I could have spent, honestly, that was a good 6 to 8 months. I feel like at least. I mean, that whole year was messed up, honestly. Pretty much. What I mean? That whole year was kind of messed up. And that even though it wasn't challenging at that time, looking back at it, I messed up because there's a lot I could have been doing. I could have been taking that money and doing something. Instead, I took that money and just sat on my ass and had a good time. And that was a mistake because it just kind of delayed the inevitable in some sense, because now here I am working at it anyways, but I should be a year ahead in some sense, you know what I mean? But I made that mistake, and but I took something from it. I definitely can look back and recognize it and go, no, not again. I would never do something like that again. Like I just, we can earn that, you know what I mean? We can earn that opportunity to have that freedom and flexibility, but like I made the mistake of thinking, I've already kind of made it in some sense. I don't have a regular job. I'm making my own money. I was making shit. Like, I didn't have any, I didn't have any base of income. I didn't have any. I just had little side projects here and there, and a damn government paycheck for 6 months or whatever, and that was stupid. So it kind of, looking back now, it became challenging because then once that was done, I kind of decided I was done with real estate, and now I had wasted all this time. I almost kind of had to rebuild and kind of start focusing more on something else because I had just spent a year before that doing the real estate stuff, kind of thinking that would be something I could pursue because I see what these realtors were making, and I saw what they're doing, and I'm like, yeah, I could do it. And I did have 5 or 6 transactions that all went pretty damn well for the most part, and I didn't hate that, but there's just it occurred to me that like if I really wanted to take that seriously, and I don't necessarily do anything without kind of getting full into it, you know what I mean? And I realized that what that looks like is just a lot of bullshitting is what it seems like to me. A lot of people pleasing, a lot of bullshitting, a lot of boot licking, a lot of, what I mean? And I'm like, that's what the hell I got out of a regular job for, you know what I mean? I'm not necessarily trying to, I don't know. They just weren't my people. No disrespect to anybody, but they just weren't my people, and it just wasn't my thing, And I can definitely reinforce that now by being where I'm at now, doing what I'm doing now. I love it. I definitely feel better about getting up in the morning and everything. But that was tough because I just wish I had spent that time putting something in place or planning or just doing something that would have at least put me a little ahead now. But at the end of the day, it's all good. We're still young. I still took something from it, but I would say that's what comes to mind. That was a little bit tricky.
That's also probably so, though, bro, because you value time more now than you did back then.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, we all can be fought at that at times. No ifs and buts about it.
Yeah. Yep.
I want to say for me, bro, when I came back from college, it was a huge wake-up call because I'm like, damn, I done spent 4 years from getting a degree and I can't make shit. Like, I'm going to be broke. I'm like, I have to pray I get a job that's going to pay me 40, 50 at bare minimum. So once inspections came into play, that's when I was working for the schools. I loved my job. It was the hours and the pay that was shit. Mm-hmm. That's why the kids love me to this day and vice versa. That's why the staff, we were all cool because I loved my job.
Yeah, yeah.
All the other shit that come with it, you can keep it. Yeah. And the benefits were good too. So I guess the benefits and the beauty about being able to pour into you for them to connect with me and vice versa. Sure. Those two things. Everything else, it was terrible, bro.
Yeah.
So... Yeah. Yeah. The last few months, man, I just felt every day, I think I did not clock in until maybe 1 or 2 minutes. Yeah. And honestly, I may have clocked in because you clocked in over the radio. Sometimes I clocked in, I wasn't even at the building yet. I was 5 minutes late. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So at that point, I'm just like, man, this shit is crazy. So when COVID happened for me, bro, that's when I started doing the I don't know if you remember that, when I was actually being the maintenance man for a minute around the corner from the apartment complex. So I was a maintenance man for like 2 months.
Okay.
So I sold them this dream for the first 3 times they paid me. I sold them a dream that because I'm like, man, I'm a licensed home inspector. I'm like, what the hell do you need me to fix?
Right.
In reality, I'm not a fucking handyman. I'm a home inspector. I don't fix what's wrong. I tell you what's wrong and say, hey, this is who you need to call. This is what's going on. So at first, bro, they were paying me $1,200 every 2 weeks.
Oh, really? Wow.
So my first 3 checks, I was making $1,200, so $600,
right?
Plus getting a paycheck from GRPS or whatever. But, bro, I was only working Mondays and Wednesdays.
Wow, damn. Okay.
As a maintenance man, because I'm like, because they was asking me, I'm like, well, I usually make this much with this because I'm like, because technically that's 2 inspections.
Right.
$600 a week. I'm like, I make 300 in inspections, so I'm like,
That's
but
true.
and then they put me on a 2-week payroll, and then or they were trying to put me on a 2-week payroll, but then they said they only pay 18 or 19. But then at that time, um, the market had opened back up for real estate. Remember, it had shut down for a minute. You couldn't really show houses or do anything, and then even when it opened, it was like very weird. So May 7th happened because I think at a time, sellers and the buyers and the inspectors couldn't even be in the house together.
It was so weird.
It was like literally you had to show up at the end of the inspection. I walk outside, show you photos, tell you what's going on. You literally could not come into the house with somebody. So it was super weird. And I think it only could be like 3 to the house. So it had to be, the spouse, and then the realtor. So that was super weird. But when that happened, I think that's kind of when the blessings kind of came onto a part. And the reason I think that's the case because the years I spent at GRPS or working at the Juve and all of that, it was taking so much time. It was taking so much energy out of me, bro. So much. And I'm like, when I worked with, I'm like, you've been doing this shit for 30 years? Bro, when I seen some people who were my teachers, my security officers at school, and couldn't fucking retire.
Yeah.
And I'm 24, 23. I'm like, nah, fuck that.
Yeah.
I called Mike. I said, bro, please resend me that home inspection link you were telling me about. I want to go back, bro, earlier to what you said about men, and I think it is universal amongst men. I think women are a little bit different because women usually, if they have something in their mind, they're going to tell you. Like, I won't say women are necessarily super opinionated, which I guess you could call it that. But if they have something on their mind, they're going to share it.
Right.
Compared to a man, we're like, we're not going to give it that much energy.
That's true.
I've been going back and forth in my head about that, and I've been having to teach myself. And like you said, I think it can be a good thing or it can be a bad thing. But I think the good thing about that, you're able to control, be like, you know what? Okay, I know this, but if I'm going to get that shit energy.
Exactly.
I think that's come with wisdom.
Yeah.
Wisdom and grace. I'm like, and is that really that big for me to address it?
Right.
90% of this shit isn't.
And so much that I'm going to drag other people into it. Because that's the thing. When you vent, it's like you're bringing other people, or at least maybe not. Some people don't take that energy on. But I feel like to me, if I'm around somebody and let's say all they do is vent, or they vent every day, they vent all the time. After a while, I'm like, you dragging that energy down to the whole, you know what I mean? Like I can only hear so much of that before you starting to get me riled up. You know what I mean? Not at you, but like it's just the emotion is too much. You know what I mean? So knowing that I can feel that way, I think well other people must feel that way too. So I gotta really be something's gotta really be bothering me for me to really be vocal about it and just to vent because I also feel like venting. And this is where maybe men and women are different. I think when women vent, it helps. You know what I mean? It helps them. It don't help me at all. If I'm gonna vent about something, I'm at that point where I'm venting about it because I'm done with it. You know what I mean? Like usually once I've let loose on something, that's a sign. I'm done. I'm over it. And this is like. Now that I've let the cat out of the bag, it's not going back in.
The shit is out of the bag.
You know what I'm saying? It's not going back in there, So I do think men are just kind of like that to some degree. Obviously, with respect to some are have varying degrees or are not like that at all. But I think generally speaking, and I also just think it's like it is just I don't know. I feel like it's our responsibility as men to bear a burden, you know what I mean? To have to take some of that burden on, you know what I mean? Women take plenty of their own burden, obviously, birthing children and shit and raising children. So, at the end of the day, I think that's just kind of men's responsibility is to bear some of that, never to a point though where like you're going to lose your mind. You know what I mean? At a certain point, you got to know when to just
Stand
be
the fuck up and
vulnerable,
say
let
something.
that up. You know what I mean? You don't want to get like that. But I think sometimes, like, if you're just somebody if you're a man who's just always, venting and letting shit loose, it's weakness. It's
Typically,
weakness.
you're bitchy. And
Yeah,
the man that's bitching, like, oh, he's over there. He's bitching all the time. Frank at work, he bitching all the time.
Yeah, who wants to be around Frank? You know what I mean? Nobody, bro. Nobody.
Damn, he bitching all the time.
We all got, and that's the thing. Like, all men got problems. We all got problems. I don't want to hear about it. Like, unless you need my help. You know what I mean? If you need, for real, like, if you need me, I'm there for you. But if you just bitching just a bitch, man, let me tell you, I got plenty of stories. Don't even get me started. It is. It's just a difference, man. It's just a difference, and it's all good, man. I'll definitely put less weight on a woman venting than I will a man.
Agreed. Agreed.
And I mean that with all love and respect. That is not a condescending statement. I don't mean it with anything but love.
I think that comes with balance, though, because too much venting, whether if it's a man or a woman's perspective, that does come off as bad energy.
This is true.
Because you're like, damn, every time we go somewhere, you finding
Yeah.
something wrong or this and that. I'm like, okay,
right,
it's not that big, right?
Right.
And I think that comes with, like, I'm one of the people, just because I see or notice something don't mean I'm going to fucking say something about it. I'm like, okay.
Right.
We're all aware of what we just saw. Do I have to fucking speak on what we just saw? Let's move on. Because some things are just like, oh damn, that was crazy or stupid or pointless at that point. But I think that's the curse and the good thing about a man and woman. Like, but it all comes with balance, because too much of it will leave you alone, because nobody's going to want to interact or engage with you.
Right.
None of it is going to put you in a dark place and fuck you up mentally.
Right.
And those aren't good thoughts. You have to have a balance. Like you said, you have to be like, okay, yeah, this really bothered me.
Right,
I have to speak on this. I didn't really give a fuck about that.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you can kind of tell if you're going to hold something. You know what I mean? If you're going to hold something and then you're going to have some resentment about it, it's probably you should say something. You know what I mean? But if it's just like petty, you're not really going to remember it in 3 hours. Like, probably just put that away.
Agreed.
Just compartmentalize that. Put that somewhere else.
And I think those are moments that, at least for me, I'm able to teach myself how to teach.
Yeah.
Because once again, as men, sometimes when those points come, we feel like we have to yell. It has to be some form of dominance. It's like, if you already know you're dominant in a situation, why do you have to show that? How can you express yourself through a way that everybody can understand it and not necessarily feel your dominance, but feel the impact of your words?
Yeah.
That's the point, because anybody can yell.
Right.
Everybody can't tell you about yourself or learn, getting a lesson out the situation the right way. You know what I'm saying? That's the good thing about, you got good coaches in the league, you got bad coaches, you got some fuckers that can really encourage you. Like, damn, I can't believe he said that.
Yeah.
Then you got some motherfucker, man, I seen his ass at the bar last week. I ain't listening to this damn fool. You know what I'm saying? So you got people you take serious and not serious, man. But I definitely think that's the difference. And I also think that's the reason why our businesses have been thriving. Going back to last episode, talking about bullshitters, people actually are satisfied with our work. And I can say that, especially now since COVID, the quality of fucking customer service is down everywhere you fucking go. Like, you're blessed. If you go out to eat anywhere in the world, you are blessed to get good customer service. So when they receive things like that, especially from small companies, people who actually got their shit laid out together and can take care of you professionally, people beyond appreciate that, because they know it's beyond rare in this day and age.
You're not wrong. You are not wrong about that. That is a weird outcome of that whole situation. Like, you are not wrong. It is crazy how many places I go where I'm like, I know, you know what I mean? Like, I don't. at first I was like, is it just me? Am I being a Scrooge? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, no, man. You go to any like retail, food, anything, it's like it's because everybody left and I don't know where they went. That's the thing. I hope they got better jobs. I don't have a fucking clue in the world. I have no idea where everybody who used to work at places went. I don't know. But all I know is I mean, maybe they left
A
or
lot
were
of
laid
older
off or
people
whatever, and then
retired.
maybe they weren't able to get them jobs back because what it seems like happened is every 17 and 18-year-old under the sun now has those jobs and is ungrateful to have them. Yeah, bro, they are not like it is they do not recognize the fact that it is a privilege to even have that job. And you know what I mean? I'm like when I was 18 and I worked at Perkins or whatever, like I
Huh?
wasn't necessarily happy to get up and go there in the morning, but I didn't let anybody just again back to that. I didn't let anybody know that. You know
That's
what I
all.
mean? I put that face on. I wore the hat every day, and I didn't let everybody know that I hated being there. You know what I'm saying?
That's all.
Like yeah, that wasn't the life that I wanted for myself. But at 18, I was happy to have whatever I could get. Or
Huh?
16, honestly, I think I started working super early, so it's like I did because I was grateful. You know, I wanted to make my own money. I wanted to have my own money to spend. These kids, it's like they act like somebody made them do it. You know what I mean? These kids act like somebody forced them to be in that restaurant and work
Huh?
without pay or something.
Huh?
That's the way they act. Like
And they get paid probably double.
probably more
In
than we
some
ever
situations,
did,
when I
bro.
first started working, my first job at Checkers, I was only making $7.25.
Yep.
And
Same.
I remember my cousins when they used to work at Meyer, they was only making $5 an hour.
Yep. Can you imagine? Yeah. Now I know things have
Making that
changed.
shit now,
Things are more expensive now, but
you would
no,
not.
no.
You would literally work to be broke, to be beyond broke.
Right, right,
Um,
right. Yeah, I know inflation and everything. I'll grant that, but I only to a certain degree because when I was making 7.25, gas was still $3 a fucking gallon. You know what I'm saying?
that's true.
So I'm like, shit, I can work 2 hours and get barely 2 gallons of gas. You know what I mean? So, but I was happy to work. I was happy to have my freedom. I was happy to have my money.
Yep.
These kids act like they got no choice in the matter. Like they
Yep.
went in there, nobody's paying them. They act like it's community service that they didn't ask for. I mean, it's crazy.
And making like seven, bro. Some of these kids are making 17,
I
20 an
believe
hour.
it. Anywhere between 15, 20 would be
Yep.
my guess. Nobody really seems to pay less than 15 anymore. You know what I mean? And honestly, and a lot of them are like, oh, 15's not enough. And to some degree, again, I understand what you're saying, but you got to understand gas is still $3 a
Dollars
fucking
a
gallon,
gallon.
and you making 15. I was making 7.
15.
You're making twice as much as I was making at that age.
Yep.
Shut up.
Yep.
Like, you're making twice as much.
And technically, if you're making 15 an hour, if you were to put hours as possible, you're making 30,000 a year.
Right.
$15 hour. And if you're making 20 at 18, you're making fucking 40,000.
I'm saying.
I graduated college wishing I walked into a $40,000, $50,000 job.
You're not lying. Honestly, bro, I'm 31 years old. I'm gonna be 32 this year. Most of my working life, I've made 30,000 or less. Honestly,
Yes, sir.
you know, I've spent a long time getting to where I'm at
Yes,
right
sir.
now. I've bounced around a lot of shit. It was very rare up until 2-3 years ago.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? For people to be on average making $15 to $20 an
Yeah.
hour. And there's obviously differences in we're in Michigan, and Michigan $15 to $20 an hour is probably a hell of a lot better than it would be in many other states. Not all, but many other states. And we're probably at least in the median, if not lower. I mean, our cost of living is pretty reasonable in Michigan.
Correct.
But nonetheless,
Houses are going up like
right.
But
But
other than that,
nonetheless,
everything
I
is pretty
mean,
standard.
shit. And I'm like, bro, it's to the point now where seriously, up until probably, I mean, I just did my taxes. We were just talking about tax earlier. I just did my taxes. Last year was, last year was probably one of my highest. You know, even especially after all the write-offs and everything,
Yes,
was
sir.
still one of the highest. It wasn't that much. I'm making as much so far in the past 6 months, and will be this year. I'm making as much as probably 3 or 4 years of my previous work combined. You know what I'm saying? If I continued this for 3 years, I would make more money in that 3 years than I've made in my entire life so far.
That's
You know what I mean?
bro.
And like,
that's huge,
it's just
bro.
crazy to me that like, I get it. You know what I mean? I wouldn't be able to necessarily do that hot on 15 hour. Don't get me wrong. You know what I'm saying?
Agreed, bro.
But when you're 18, the expectation's not that high. You gotta build some damn. You gotta get some damn skills. You know what I'm saying?
Sincerely.
Like, these people are just. They're not going in that direction, bro. They're not going in that direction. It's crazy. Sometimes I get anxious just to even go out or to go out to eat or to go to retail these days because I'm like, it's probably finna be a bad experience.
That's right.
The food might be okay, but somebody's gonna be an asshole. You know?
And the food sometimes a hit or a miss because some restaurants lacks on chefs. So either the food is not the best, or the shit comes out way later than it's supposed to.
Yep.
Like I said, if you go out now, you are blessed to have good service. It's not necessarily expected.
It's weird,
right now in this world.
It's weird, and I just don't understand what happened because it just still seems like today everything being understaffed. Like I remember, I can't remember exactly. It must have been. I don't think it was last year. Everything's been such a blur, man. I don't have any fucking idea, but I remember over the last year or two, me and I think I probably told you, me and John and a guy that works for him, Steven, we did a couple days at least where we were trying this thing. John got into this thing where we were building these pools. I think I remember telling you about that. Yeah. It was funny as hell. We had a pretty good time doing it, but we only did it for a little while. I don't remember what ended up happening, but like I think I don't know. We did a bunch of them, and then like they ended up like changing their pricing. I don't know. Something happened to where we just figured I just wasn't gonna be quite worth it. But we had a good time doing it. And I remember one thing that stood out to me while we were doing that was, part of the process was that so we would dig, we would flatten the ground out. These were interesting. They were basically like hybrid pools. They were like in ground but above ground. It was strange. They were kind of like in the middle. They weren't concrete, but they weren't kiddie pools. You know what I'm saying? They weren't inflatables and shit. Like they were decent, but they weren't concrete. So, but they were still, instead of the pool being concrete, we would dig it out. They had a what's the thing called? One of them, not a bulldozer, but like a small thing to come out, dig it, get it all excavated or whatever, flatten it out, build the frame. We would kind of build the frame with these pieces they would provide depending on the pool and everything. And that was a little bit of tough work. But then once we would build the frame, they had to have concrete come in and actually just surround the frame basically. So they would just kind of pour around the frame, and that would really stabilize it. And then they would backfill all the stuff that we dug out. Basically, they backfill over that. So you couldn't really see it, but under that was like a layer of concrete that kind of held it in and everything. And what was crazy was one time when we were waiting for the concrete guy to come, he came, and it was super delayed. Like they were just super late. They were running late. It was all good. When he came, we found out why. It's because he said they had, I don't remember exactly what he said, but it was something like they had 5 trucks available, like 5 concrete trucks or something for this company, and only 2 people driving them. And now concrete people make good money. They make good money. And this was, it might have even been last year, last summer. If not, it was the one before. I mean, this was like, most of the paychecks ended. You know what I mean? This wasn't 2020. Like, it wasn't mid-COVID. It was like after the point where, like, I'm starting to wonder, how are people getting paid? Because, like, the federal checks ended. The state checks, unemployment, that was done. It was long gone. But I heard that even after that stuff ended, there were still programs in place for even just certain counties where, like, say, Kent County, for instance, our county, would pay rent for no particular reason, just because. Just, like, because you were, like, COVID. You know what I mean? Like, so I think people up until possibly, like, the end of 21 were just finding different ways to get paid and not work. You know what I mean? And it was just crazy because long after even the normal, where the supermarkets were messed up and the restaurants and people were not allowed to work and all that, this was well past that. This was to the point where for some reason people, even with seemingly high paying jobs, are choosing not to work. What is going on? It's crazy. And most of us, like me and you, regular people, are dying to work. Like, like wondering where the business went. We're looking for everything, dying for work, man. Trying to actually, that was past the point of my mistake of sitting on my ass for too long. And now I'm like, I'm ready to work. I'm ready to put this time in. You know what I mean? We're ready, man. You were ready for inspections to pick up after all that bullshit. And really it kind of did, because there was all that tension from people not being able to buy and everything like that. So it was just a weird time, man. It was so weird, and it's so strange that we still feel the effects of that from like for all those, like going out to just almost any restaurant. It seems like the average employee age is 19. Honestly,
I would agree with that.
I feel old. Like going I would agree with that. I know I am getting older, but like I'm not that old. And like I feel like going into any service area, whoever I'm dealing with is younger than me. Which is where there's usually plenty of 30, 40-year-olds peppered into retail and, waiting tables and cooking and everything. I don't see any of them people anymore. I don't know.
You'll see them at Mr. Burger.
Yeah.
I don't know if you go to Mr. Burger, you'll still see like some older. Other than that, bro.
I love Mr. Burger.
I fuck with Mr. Burger the long way.
I love Mr. Yeah, there is one right by you, isn't there? On where you are now, anyways, right on 28th Street area.
Yep, it would be. Yep. And then right now, sometimes I stop up by the one on route to the office that's over there in the playing field.
Oh, right over here? Yeah,
by the score.
Yeah,
and then,
that's the one I always went to.
The one on 44th, too. That's around the corner from my Uncle Rick and that Sharon house.
Yeah.
I go there from time to time. But
that Mr. Burger right there over the playing field one, that was the only one that I say used to because I think they aren't anymore for some reason. Used to be open on Sunday because all the other ones never were, but that one was always open on Sunday. I don't think they are anymore, which has been another weird ass ramification of COVID. That was one that things are just closed on days they used to be open, and then
no more 24 hours.
No more 24 hours. Shit.
Everything closed. I mean, restaurants used to stay open till 2, 3.
Right.
Everything closed at 12. Meijer, Walmart, none of that shit.
The IHOP down on Northland here too, same street as Mr. Burger, just further down. I think that might still be a 24-hour, but I could probably count on one hand the amount of things in a 50-mile radius here that are still open 24/7. I just don't understand it. I just don't believe that it was. I think what happened is they used it as an opportunity because they weren't profitable at those times. You know what I mean? They were just probably losing money most likely at those times because this isn't an area where it's not Reno. Like there's, IHOP isn't popping at 2 a.m. But it's nice for people that wanted to go. Usually when you like fucked up. And now it's just gone.
Even fast food though, because so now, back then you went out, stay out until 2 or 3. You can grab some fast food on the way home.
Yep.
Not no more. You better have something to eat at home waiting for your ass.
Or just get there before midnight.
Because the bars, I mean, they may even be open until 12. The kitchen may close at 10 or 11.
Right.
You know what I mean? That type of deal to where.
I noticed that too.
Villa may be the only piece of place I know that stay open until 1 or 2.
Wow, that's
everybody else probably closed at shit. Some places close at 10, bro.
Yeah.
Some places will close at 10 and everything like that. So
a lot of places.
I guess through all of that, as we kind of get towards the end of the show, what would you say? What's your biggest piece of advice to give to somebody right now in regards to what you learned from that? What would be your biggest piece of advice to give to an entrepreneur, somebody that's looking to hope to to really aspire in regards to what we're doing, in regards to being our own boss, fulfilling our purposes, doing what we necessarily need and want to do in this world. So
Yeah, I was just talking to somebody about this the other day. I was just talking to a group of people about this the other day. Like, people take different philosophies, especially when it comes to being like self-employed on, how you should balance your life and how you should balance your time. I kind of lean towards, I'm 30. If you're anything less than 30, if you're 30 to 35, you're mid 30. I don't know. I would say my thing is, first of all, don't waste time. Make as many sacrifices as you possibly can without being miserable. And I mean that. Like up until the line to where, if you're truly not happy to get up every morning, dial it back. It's too much. If you're making yourself miserable, it's too much.
sure.
But right now, I mean, like you said, that was pretty funny. I'm like, I really do. I mean, right now, there's a lot of things I want to do, man. I want to get my fitness as good as it's ever been. I want to get my business as good as it's ever been and just keep moving that up. I want to buy a house. There's a lot of shit I want to do. So, it's either, and it's going to take time no matter what. There's no rushing it, short of winning the lottery. I got to put in the work. You know what I mean? And so right now, I'm up at 6 in the morning. I'm going to the gym. I'm into work by 8. I'm working till 5 most days, with a little break, with an hour break at most in between if I choose to take it. Sometimes I'll skip it because I want to get more shit done later. So after work, I'm working on whatever needs to be done that day for a couple hours for the side business. So I'm usually not done till 6 or 7. Might go home, get something to eat. If I'm lucky, I might have an hour a day to do something I want to do, during the week at least, to do something I want to do, whether that's play a game, sit down and watch a show, something like that. But for me, I just don't need much more than that. I might want much more than that, but I don't need much more than that. What I need is to grow my business, get a goddamn house. You know what I mean? That's the shit I need, because to get my fitness in check, to get my health in check, just to make sure that all this money we're going to make, we can stay around to enjoy it. You know what I mean? Especially now while we're feeling it, like now's the time to do it. So, I would say make as many damn sacrifices as you can. It sometimes it sucks because there's always shit coming. Like there's always an opportunity to do some dumb shit, to go. I shouldn't say that. There's always opportunities to go and, enjoy yourself. And it's not that you shouldn't, but like, there's a lot of opportunities, man. There's always invites on the table. And if you can't limit yourself to how much of that you do, you know what I mean? If you sit there and say, well, I got to at least enjoy, I got to take 1 day a week off or something, like you can do that.
Yep.
But you do that for every week of the year, that's 52 weeks in a year. That's 52 days you took off. That's over a goddamn month. That's almost 2 months that you didn't do anything. You know what I mean? And like 2 months a year, you do that for 5-6 years, you've done wasted a whole year. Wasted a whole year. You know what I mean? And everybody's tolerance is different, Like I said, I don't, nobody should ever push themselves to a point where they're just miserable doing what they're doing, because there's no point. But I think most people's tolerance for how much they can handle is a lot higher than they give themselves credit for. But people talk themselves into like a corner of like, well, I got to have this, I got to do this, or I'm going to be. And like, when you really think about what you want and you really think about what you're after and what it's going to take to get there, you might want to make some sacrifices. You might want to say no sometimes when people telling you to go out, or when people are trying to get you to do something that's just, and a lot of times it doesn't even feel right when you got goals, you know what I mean? And sometimes people peer pressure you into like, people tell you like, oh, you working too hard, you got to enjoy yourself. I got a group of friends like that. Like I'll be working at 8 or 9 o'clock and they're like, what are you doing? I'm like, you can not, that's fine, don't. But you're gonna stay making the same thing you're making every year, and that's just not what I'm. That's not what I'm about right now. I'm trying to go up, not flat. You know what I mean? And so, whatever. I don't feel bad. If I felt miserable about it, I wouldn't do it. But I'm not gonna let anybody else make me feel miserable about it. You know what I mean? I feel like sometimes people project that because they even know that they could be doing more. because they say some shit like that. Oh, you still working at 8 or 9? You goddamn right I am. I'm trying to grow something here. I'm not doing a hard cut at 5 o'clock. Like, there's a lot more time in the day than that, man. If I do 2 more hours a day than you every week, I got a whole extra day in there, right? If I spend 2 hours a day, 5 days a week, that's 10 hours a week. That's a whole damn work day you got. You know what I mean? If you waste that away, nah, that's the thing, man. And if you start adding up time like that and really thinking about, and that's why I got rid of social media. That's why I don't mess around with shit like TikTok, because 30 minutes or an hour a day, you let that go by, you do that every day, that's 7 hours a week. That's a whole damn work day. You could have done something. Even if it's just a side hustle or a dream or a hobby or something. You know what I mean? I just can't stand wasting that time instead of just moving towards something. You know what I mean? So don't make that mistake. Don't get comfortable. Don't waste time if you don't have to. Take your relaxation time when you need it, but don't waste time when you don't need to. You know, that's what I would say.
Agreed. I think you hit it on the nose, bro. With the sacrifice, you have to sacrifice to get to the next level. I think my biggest thing after the 4 going on 5 years now is balance. I mean, we could say a lot of things, but I think balance is most important. So knowing what you're saying, understanding that when you do take those sacrifices, because you got some people that go and don't know when. Like, okay, you have to have a balance to where you're not doing more than the other. Is literally is healthy. And I think to have a balance, to be healthy, you have to have a balance. So being able, and I think to be balanced, you have to really know yourself. You got to be like, okay, I'm not good at this. I know, like me personally, I'm not good at multitasking. I can't do 3, 4, or 5 things at fucking once. My mind go crazy. So since I know that, I try to balance out my schedule to where I'm not doing 3, 4, 5 things. I can take, okay, this, and that. But you have to really know yourself. But balances take time. Balances take sacrifices, because you have to be willing to know when to say yes and when to say no. But once again, that all comes, but balance takes, you have to be aware of your situation. Is this the time I can take a break? Have I really worked this hard to take a break? Yeah, did I really earn this? Or like, damn, man, you been at it, man. Just sit your ass down for a minute. You know what I'm saying? Like, you have to give yourself those real talks. You have to be truthful to have balance. You have to be very honest with yourself. But I think balance is the key when you're an entrepreneur. That's the key. That's the answer. And when you're able to balance, you be like, man, this is the reason I do it.
That's
because I'm like, I can go grind my ass off, get everything I need and want, and then at the same time have this time to spend it and do it with who I need and want to in this world. So I think that's the beauty about Under the Rug podcast, man.
That's true.
And everything like that is the sacrifices, the balance that become, behind it, and becoming true entrepreneurs and everything, and making everything work, man. So I think that was two key factors right there, man. No ifs, ands, buts about it.
No doubt. Yeah, and you gotta know, like you said, you gotta know what you're kind of like, where you're most effective. Like, if you honestly can't do that much in 8, if you can do as much in 6 hours as you can do in 8, meaning that, like, if you try to force yourself to do something for the extra time and it's just not effective, don't do that either. You know what I mean? That's one thing I kind of learned over the years. I'm very effective in 5 or 6 hours at one thing. It's best if I move on after that, because if I'm trying to force that extra, little bit, it's not, I just get a lot less return out of it. You know what I mean? And that's something you kind of learn over time. It's like, how much am I really going to get out of 4 or 5 hours, 6 hours? Like sometimes 8 hours, a lot of times is too much. You know what I mean? You know, but I'm able to keep going all day because I'm working at different things. I can spend a couple hours on getting my fitness right, switch over to getting my work done, switch over to running the business for a couple hours, switch over to home life. You know what I mean? I got plenty of switches through the day, but that's balance for me. You know what I mean? That's the balance. So it is. I would agree all about balance. And it's storming like a son of a bitch outside all of a sudden. You seeing that?
Oh yeah, it's crazy right now, man.
This has been a weird time in Michigan. It's been like 80 and 30 all within the span of like a week. Bro, today it was like 40 degrees this morning. It's like 80 and humid right now. This is the weirdest shit ever.
We're definitely gonna get a good storm.
Yeah,
for sure, man.
We might be stuck here for a minute.
Well, man, that's some good free game, man.
Hey, man.
To all of our viewers out there, we appreciate y'all. So,
yeah,
that is Under the Rug podcast, man. Season 2,
episode 3.
Episode 3.
That's a wrap.